The NBA is certainly maintaining their authentic and genuine appeal for their fans. In the 2019 and 20 season, according to Statista, an estimated 17 million fans filed into NBA arenas all around the league. The league-wide average for attendance for that season stood at 17,750 fans per game. Jeff Munneke knows all about ensuring that fans get their money's worth when they decide to take in a night or perhaps a season of NBA basketball. Munneke serves as the Vice President of Fan Experience for the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx. So what exactly goes into creating an authentic fan experience and ensuring that they keep coming through the turnstiles of NBA arenas? Munneke joined me this week to have that very discussion. And by the way, he brings his energy, enthusiasm, and expertise to this insightful and engaging discussion. So without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to talk to you all about fan experience this afternoon. Great to be with you, and happy Minnesota Monday there, buddy.
Hey, I love it, Kevin, and good to be on, and nice to see you. And I'm always up for talking fan experience, and always up for talking Timberwolves and Lynx. So this is great to be here.
Absolutely. Now, Jeff, just before we dive into the intricacies of your day job, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about making the playoffs for the first time in 18 years in Minnesota, and all about that experience. Buddy, what would you reflect upon when you think about that, and what did that mean for the franchise in general?
Well, of course, we were super excited about that. And everything we do on the Timberwolves side, we try to replicate toward the Lynx side. And so after winning 4 championships on the Lynx side, we were due to start making some progress on the Timberwolves side, right? No, but it was really great. And Las Vegas, it had us to winning 35 games this year. We ended up winning 46. We exceeded expectations, won that great play-in game against the Clippers, then had a great series with Memphis, extending the number 2 seed to 6 games. Of course, we were disappointed when we ended the season and got beat. And and obviously Memphis played really well to do that. But we're really pleased with the season, and we've got some good building blocks ready to go for our next step. And we just announced today that we have signed Tim Connolly to become our new general manager. So some big news on the front office front for us as well.
Yeah, it keeps it busy and exciting, doesn't it?
Oh, it sure does. And really in the NBA, there's hardly an off season anymore. The playoffs go pretty far, and we have a pre-draft workout starting right now. The lottery just happened for the teams outside the playoff picture. This year, we are not one of those teams. We still have 4 draft picks that we'll have to select or make moves on for this year. So pre-draft workouts have begun, and then you have your summer league that will take place in July, and then training camp starts a couple months later. And so there's not a big downturn. But in the meantime, we also have our Lynx franchise that's currently in season with a game tomorrow night. We welcome our team back after a 3-game road trip.
Absolutely. Now, Jeff, I know that your first passion, or one of your biggest passions, is your day job as the Vice President of fan experience for both the Timberwolves and the Lynx. But so I'm curious to ask you about what makes a great and authentic fan experience.
Well, I think what I'd say, Kevin, is that it's probably personal. We try to personalize the relationship with all our fans and get to know their names, get to know their spouses' names, their kids' names, who their favorite players are. Everybody has a different thing that drives the engine of why they are a fan or why they want to consume Timberwolves or Lynx basketball and come to the arena. So for one person, it might be it's a family situation where they want access to the mascots or to see the fun entertainment options that are happening during the game. The next person might be driven by entertaining clients and doing it for business purposes. And then, maybe some of the other reasons are they're just basketball fans. They've been a Timberwolves fan since they're a young kid. They just like good basketball, which they saw a lot of this year.
Absolutely. And Jeff, you also oversee youth basketball for both professional basketball teams in Minnesota. So tell me about the expansion and growth of youth basketball there in Minnesota and how proud you are that it's sort of coming to the forefront these days.
Well, what I'd say is obviously, a lot of times people talk about this being a great hockey state, which of course it is. It's played at incredible levels. But we also feel it's an incredible basketball state with, 500 high schools playing high school basketball. The AAU program and traveling programs are really strong throughout the state of Minnesota. We're seeing a number of these great players playing not only high-level Division I basketball, but still at really high levels at mid-majors, Division I, Division II, Division III, all those levels. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of talent and coming out of the state and actually the region into these colleges to play at an advanced level. So I think what that does, that just solidifies the activities and solidifies the love of the game here in the state, which we think is played at a really high level, and people want to come back and see it played at the ultimate level, which is the professional level for both our Timberwolves and Lynx franchises.
Yeah, and just tell me, what do you think is the key to upgrading or increasing fan attendance moving forward for both Minnesota franchises? Obviously, winning helps, but what else? What other factors do you contribute to that?
Well, Kevin, of course, when the team wins games, we always say the hot dogs taste better and the beer gets colder. So there's something with that. But also, it's things that we can control. How people are treated when they come through our doors, and how our fans attended to once they're inside the bowl of the arena, and what's happening with food, what's happening with parking, what's happening with in-game entertainment. Those are all things that we concentrate our efforts on. And I think when you couple all those things together, you win more games. You create some really fun scenarios inside of our building to make the experience great, and where people come out of the game that night and say, man, that was worth the price of admission. I had a great time. I was treated really well. That's obviously going to all help increase attendance for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeff, you mentioned earlier about the importance of maintaining relationships with the people you serve, but I also think that maintaining energy within the arena is very important, and keeping fans engaged when the action is at a pause on the court. So tell me about maintaining energy and relationships and how the two things are interconnected.
Yeah, it's a great question. And, we spent a lot of time training and spending time with our part-time staff to engage with those guests on a night-to-night basis, because they have to execute what we are thinking about and planning together on with our fans. And so they're another bridge to making sure that fan experience is really sound. Again, knowing names and knowing, their habits and knowing suggestions and having the knowledge inside Target Center to make those recommendations to make sure, again, it's a great experience. And so we spent a lot of time, thinking that through. We also spent a lot of time asking our fans, what do they want? What do they like? What are the things they like, and let's do more of that. What are the things that they're maybe concerned about or sideways on a little bit? And so let's talk about changing those things to make the experience better.
And Jeff, I know that Alex Rodriguez is now part of the ownership group there in Minnesota, and there's been a bit of a changeover in that regard. So how does that help in terms of the name recognition of the ownership group? How does that make your job a little bit easier in terms of attracting fans?
Well, so the new owners obviously are having a big impact already. They attended a lot of our games here. They attend a lot of our road games as well. And so, although they won't take over officially as the sole owners or the largest percentage ownership for about 2.5 years, they're obviously involved and active. Again, with Tim Connolly signing a contract today to become our general manager, they were involved in that process, of course. And so they obviously are respectful for Mr. Taylor, our current owner, but they also are working side by side and alongside him to just say, hey, let's start making some adjustments. So let's start, looking at ideas and making the relationship strong internally to, again, help execute a great fan experience and a great organization that hopefully is going to win NBA championships for years to come.
Absolutely. The Timberwolves have a long history of great basketball going back to the days of Latrell Sprewell and Kevin Garnett. So tell me about restoring sort of the tradition of Minnesota Timberwolves basketball and how important this season was in that regard.
Well, some of the things that we've done are people love the nostalgia of bringing back players, and they remember how exciting it was in 03-04, which is our most iconic year when we took Sacramento to 7 games and eventually lose the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. But that was our most fun year, I think, in most people's eyes. And so people love the nostalgia of bringing back those alumni players and getting a chance to take a photo with them and hearing from them at different events. And so we have put together a series of alumni-related programs to bring us back Latrell Sprewell and Tom Gugliotta and Sam Cassell and Trenton Hassel and Troy Hudson, and just to name a few. And that's been received really well. And people like that connection, and we're going to do even more in the future with that alumni program.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of your job has to be a little bit easier these days with the advancements digitally, and the more that you can ask of your human capital staff or the people that work for you on the ground. So I'm wondering how you mold both human capital and digital advances to make sure you're really providing a great fan experience.
Yeah, there's so many things involved with that. Again, we take a lot of time in surveying our season ticket members and our fans. We do focus groups. We try to solicit feedback and just say, how are we doing? And so that's been really helpful in what we're trying to do regarding that fan experience. And so not having we don't like to say that we have all the answers. Let's go ask people and try to come up with answers and solutions to those to make the experience better. So a lot of what we're going to spend our time on this off season now is, again, asking questions, again, developing more time with training, onboarding, orientation, and hiring for our part-time and game night staff to help execute that plan with our guests.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jeff, I'll share a little bit about myself. So I was actually born with cerebral palsy, and part of my fan experience is certainly the more accessible options that arenas offer now. And I'm curious, when we look at serving individuals with disabilities, what goes in to making sure that they have an authentic and genuine and enjoyable fan experience?
Yeah, another great question, Kevin. And we brought in people not only that have some accessible needs to ask them, what do you think? What are the things that we need to be aware of? We brought in people that serve in that industry and to ask questions. And obviously there's certain guidelines and protocols that we have to measure up to. And so we certainly want to be compliant with that. But again, we want to have something for everybody. So it's a situation for us that we love our fans, and we love our fans no matter what location they sit. It can be 200 level, it can be accessible seats, it can be lower level, it can be courtside seating. we want to have something for everybody in regards to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeff, you had mentioned that you were also responsible for the Lynx fan experience, and I'm curious to ask you about the growth and expansion of women's basketball, and certainly, as you mentioned, the Lynx have won a couple of WNBA championships. So I'm wondering if you could take a few minutes to tell me about the growth of women's basketball and how exciting it is for the Lynx franchise as well.
Oh man, there's no doubt, and basketball is being played at such a high level for the boys and the girls in the state. And if you look at again the number of girls that are coming out of the state playing at high levels, major Division I college opportunities. Paige Becker's obviously had a great run at UConn this last year, but hosting the Final Four here was really fun at Target Center. We have upcoming Big Ten championships. Both in the Big Ten, Lindsay Whalen signed 4 top 100 kids, all from Minnesota, for her squad for next year. Traveling basketball, AAU basketball for both the boys and the girls are played at a really, really high level. And if you look at the WNBA, perhaps maybe there's time here in the near future where we can expand. There's 12 teams right now. With the infusion of talent that comes in every year, there's not a lot of room to host a lot of new players. But the new players that come in are obviously going to be really, really good. And we've had the luxury of winning 4 championships here for the Lynx franchise, and hopefully we have another one coming. We're off to a little bit of a slow start this year with injuries and some of our players, and some of the changes. Some of the players coming back from Europe and their obligations there. But we feel really good that we have a roster that Cheryl Reeve, again, will go forward with and make sure that we're always a championship level caliber team, which I think by the end of the season we will be. But again, the level of basketball for the girls is just tremendous here in the state.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we look at your job, Jeff, I'm also wondering how important player engagement is with the fans, and how excited your current players are to engage with the fans, and how important it is to them.
Yeah, if you look at the NBA, I mean the way they connect and engage with people on social media. Oftentimes you see players giving jerseys or shoes or sweatbands out to fans that are wearing their jersey in the stands. There's obviously a lot of different ways that the players are connecting and engaging, but it's super easy for them now because there's such a good engagement vehicle with social media, whether it's Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, whatever it may be. There's opportunities to do that. But I think also we try to run a number of events where fans get a chance to, it was obviously really hard to do this during COVID. In fact, we couldn't do it in a lot of cases. But now that hopefully that's in the rear mirror, we're going to proceed and go forward and get those events back where people can take a photo and get a signature and take a selfie with the players, and give knuckles and give high fives, because that's very meaningful. And especially for kids, they always say a kid will usually declare who their favorite team is by the time they're 10 or 12. And if they do have that team, they're probably a fan for life. So we try to accentuate that and make sure that we're doing everything we can for the young kids at younger ages to make those connections with our players and the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Authentic human experience and connection goes a long way, doesn't it?
It sure does. It absolutely does. And, we realize that, if you do have those opportunities, whether it's D'Lo or Carl Towns or Anthony Edwards or, Jordan McLaughlin, whoever it may be, whether it's a high five, a fist bump, a selfie, a photo, just any type of engagement, that kid is probably a fan for life. And so we certainly encourage our players to get involved that way too.
Yeah, and Jeff, the Timberwolves have such a young and talented roster, so I'm just wondering your thoughts on how much pride you take working in the organization, sort of seeing this team all come together this year and the potential they have moving forward.
Yeah, so it's been really fun, and I've been here through all of it. I've been here 34 years, just shy of 34 years, actually. So I've seen it all since the start and the get-go for both franchises, for both the Timberwolves and the Lynx. And so Obviously, when you see plans and players and structure start to come together, and you start to win games, and again, we always say if you win games, the hot dogs taste better and beer gets colder. So we exceeded expectations this year on the Timberwolves side, and we won championships on the Lynx side. And that's always really fun organizationally when we get excited, when our fans are excited. And I think in both cases right now, our fans are really excited about what's held in the future.
Absolutely. And Jeff, when you look at the whole landscape of your job, I'm curious to find out what's the best aspect of your job and what keeps you excited to come to work every day.
Well, what drives it for me is the relationships that I get from basketball. So it's that orange ball that's thrown up every night as a jump ball that brings everybody into our arena. But what that allows is the relationships from the people that are enjoying the basketball, is whether it's a high school basketball coach or a season ticket member or a general fan, whatever the reason they have to come in and consume Timberwolves and Lynx basketball. It gives me the opportunity to develop that relationship and get to know them personally, get to know their family, get to know their names, get to know what makes them tick, and get to know away from basketball, what do they like to do? What are their hobbies? And so I think when you have true relationships like that, that's a great business piece for us, because they're more likely to retain that business because they like not only what happens on the basketball court, but what happens behind the scenes with those relationships, whether it's myself or our membership team or a corporate sales team or our suite team. Those relationships are really important. So basketball brings it all together. But by far and away, the most important thing and most fun thing for me are the relationships created.
Yeah, absolutely. And my final question for you, Jeff, has to do with your own individual and personal and professional legacy and how you think you may want that to be defined.
Well, I hope when I'm all said and done, whenever my day comes where I'm no longer doing this, I hope at my retirement party, they say, boy, Jeff really treated people well. He really was a good listener. He really took the time to develop those relationships. Hopefully they'd say, certainly you'd want to be known as good at your job too. But I think more importantly, just how I treated people. I like to treat people like they're the most important person in the room when I'm talking to them. And if that's said, when I'm all said and done, I'll feel really good about myself.
Absolutely. And Jeff, finally, tell me if people want to get connected with you or the great work that you're doing with the Minnesota Timberwolves. What's the best way they can get connected with you, buddy?
Yeah, Kevin, I'm pretty active on social media, tweeting out on, through Twitter and Instagram and Facebook what we're up to here and what I'm up to, maybe with my family too. So Minnesota, spelled out Minnesota, and then Munn, Minnesota Munn, MUNN, is the best way to reach me. That's my Instagram handle, that's my Twitter handle, and then it's, of course, Jeff Munneke on Facebook. So, if you want to come my direction, I'll follow you back, and we'll hopefully have a lot of good interactions in the future.
Well, Jeff, I have to tell you, as a basketball fan myself, and I originally went to school to become a sports reporter, so I really enjoyed engaging in conversation with you about that experience, buddy. I want to thank you for the good work that you do and for giving me a few minutes. It's most appreciated.
My pleasure, Kevin. So good to be on. So nice to see you, and hopefully we'll see you in the very near future.